Hello, welcome to Big Talk. My name is Topsy Gimba. Of course, Big Talk is a program that comes to you here where we discuss political issues. Yes, Nigeria is gradually picking up politically, and politicians are regrouping. By that I mean forming coalition to ensure that by 2027, they unseat the present administration. To them, what's really happening in this country is not too good for them, and they felt coming together will be good enough for them to raise power 2027. But how true is it? Because largely what is expected is for us as citizens of this country to know what is good and what is bad, and just believing in some of these utopia promises by politicians who often dish out some of these issues. At the end of the day, we don't get to see what is required. For instance, those who are grouping or regrouping, so to speak, are largely those people who had one time or the other participated in government, ruling for about 8 years or so, and now because they are out of government for about just 2 years, they feel they have been left out, and the best way to do it is to raise power and to ensure by 2027 the present administration will not be there again. And I, on that particular level, I decided to invite the spokesperson of Labour Party and the president of Barrister Ken Aswago to be with us in the studio to explain more, because I know his principal, Peter Obi, is actually one of the contestants towards 2027 general election. It's a pleasure having you on the program this evening, Barrister Ken Aswago.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gimba. Thank you, Nigerians.
For the fact that you are here and being the spokesperson to the Labour Party, it shows that indeed you have a lot to offer to those who are watching us right now. I feel so concerned as a Nigerian. We've been going through a series of elections, and we just ended one 2023, and now the government is on power roughly about 2 years. And those who participated in government for 8 years when Buhari was there, they felt what is happening today is not good enough, and so they are coming up together using a platform that's called ADC, African Democratic Congress, to try as much as possible to raise power with Bola Tinubu in 2027. And I've been imagining how are they going to do to ensure that they get the best out of it, looking at what has happened and what's happening right now.
Thank you, Mr. Gimba. You see, it's already happening. What I think you're asking what the plans are in terms of what they want to do. Are you listening to me, Mr. Gimba?
Yeah, I'm watching you.
So what you're saying is, how are they able, or how will they be able to surmount the difficulties going forward, the bottlenecks? Yeah,
not just even surmounting the bottlenecks.
Yeah.
These people that are coming together, that they call themselves members of the coalition.
Yeah.
If we look at them critically, these are people who had one time or the other been in government. Some of them for more than 8 years, some 8 years. And some have just even left just 2 years down the line. And they are now saying it's not good enough to allow the present government to continue. So the best way to do it is to resolute and seize power from him or this present government, as a matter of fact.
Well, I don't speak for the coalition.
Yes.
I speak for Labour Party.
Because your man is one of them.
Yes, and I will speak for Labour Party to the extent of Labour Party's participation in this coalition. So coalition, they have their own structure, and they have the spokesperson for the coalition.
Right.
So I will speak about the coalition to the extent of Labour Party's participation in the coalition. Now, the leader of Labour Party, as it is today, is Mr. Peter Obi, and he has signified his intention to be part of that coalition. The day they unveiled the coalition, he was there, and he made it clear that he is here. Before, when they began the meetings for this coalition, he made it clear that he is participating in this coalition because he feels that there is a need to root out hunger in Nigeria. In short, his statements have always been there. You know, they are reverberated all over Nigeria when he keeps saying that he will never participate in any coalition that is not geared towards ending hunger, ending insecurity, ending the decapitation of Nigerian people. That any coalition that is wishy-washy, that is not geared towards solving the problem of the Nigerian people, ending bad governance in Nigeria, that he's not part of it. Mm-hmm. So the sole reason he's participating in this coalition is because of the fact that he feels that this government has not done well. Immediately after the unveiling on Wednesday last week, just the day after, he tweeted, he posted something on his X handle where he said that he's participating in this coalition because he feels that there's a need to build bridges. That this does not come, that this comes with some enormous pains, but it has to be done.
Look at it in this perspective, this wider perspective. If somebody tells you that he wants to do a particular thing, different than what other people hold as their own principle of belief, and then you now identify yourself with them, knowing the kind of people that are forming up this particular coalition we're talking about here. And then you're then saying, if the ethical coalition will be going on without ending poverty, ending hunger, you will not be part of it. But you will not look at the kind of people that are there. That
I was saying something before you cut in. He said that this bridges and building, that it comes with enormous pains and sacrifice, but it has to be done. You see, we are not deluding ourselves by thinking that the people who are in that coalition, they are made up of angels, that they are all angels. No, you understand? But the most important thing is that we have somebody who is bringing something fresh, whose preachments resonate with the Nigerian people, who the Nigerian people have come to adore, who has spoken to Nigerian people and they have bought his preachments. And that person is Mr. Peter Obi. And that's the difference. That's what makes the difference. The moment he got into that coalition, you see how the ovation, how he received loud ovation.
Ovation is a different thing altogether. Ovation, because Peter Obi that you are talking about, finding himself in the coalition. I understand
where you're going, Mr. Topsy. Peter Obi cannot make himself president. He must come out under the umbrella of a political party. Our constitution does not allow for independent candidacy. So he must come out to contest for election under the platform of a political party. And those political party members are Nigerians.
I hope, Mr. King,
I hope you're not expecting him to go to heaven.
No.
To bring
I
down
hope
the people
you are not living in the past simply because you notice his presence in 2023, the performance he did in 2023 that you feel 2027 going through. This is a different ball game altogether. In 2023, the idea of really having a young man to participate in election until that young man could become the president, then Peter Obi was hosted as one of these persons that Nigerians really wanted to ensure that he or she becomes. So at the end of the day, how did he get? What was the result did he get at the end of the day that you feel coming out now is sufficient enough for him to do what you think he should do at the end of the day?
He got more than 6 million votes in the last election. And, you know, they said, before the election, they said we didn't have structure. You understand? And we are not deceiving ourselves by thinking, we felt that even though the Supreme Court validated the election in favor of this particular president now, but we felt that we were not fairly treated in that election, ostensibly because that's criminality, because Peter Obi kept saying that structure is structure of criminality. And it happened to us. We saw it. It played out during the election.
Yes,
in Lagos State, we recorded.
Politics.
In Lagos State, we won. We got more than almost 1 million votes, and they recorded more than 500.
No, politics is not the way you see.
Do you know why I'm saying
this? Let me tell you one thing.
You know why I'm saying this?
It's far more than politics is not moral.
Now we've come to the realization now that there is a need for broader collaborations. There has to be collaborative efforts so that what happened the last time may not be able to repeat itself.
What I'm simply saying, politics is not a set of morals that you feel, you know, adopting a particular formula that appears to be like morality itself will not give you the outcome you desire. No. As much as you are able to play the game and you are playing it successfully without anybody saying anything, you become the winner at the end of the day. No. And so when you said maybe he made a very good outing, but at the end of the day, he was not given the chance to lead.
Well, as far as Supreme Court has spoken in favor of the current president, revisiting that matter will just be...
And in any situation, yes, I know you are a lawyer.
So we can move on.
I'm aware, I know you are a lawyer. We have to really look into the history so that we actually know basically going forward. Yeah, and the going forward is going to be 2027. Yeah. And of course, politicians have put themselves together to ensure that they should do what they should do at the end of the day. The question I'm really asking is, now that Peter Obi is attempting to identify himself with the people who are now beginning to form the coalition, to what extent can you say he's actually going to make it, looking at the kind of people, the caliber of people that are in this coalition?
Well, it is left for the people...
An assessment, make an assessment.
Yeah, you know, like I said, Peter Obi makes a difference. He's bringing something very fresh. I am not in a position to determine whether the coalition will eventually adopt him as the presidential candidate. I can't goad them into taking a particular direction. But I know that Labour Party is presenting the representative of the party in that coalition is somebody that the Nigerian people love. So it's left for them for the stakeholders who are in there to sit down and decide for themselves
what's
they want going forward.
What's the yardstick for your measurement to say that he is loved? The yardstick of your own measurement. Using the past?
The test of the pudding is in the eating. The last election said it all.
Okay.
You saw his results. Even when they said there were 2 people or 3 people tweeting in a room, at the end of the day, 6 million votes appeared from nowhere. So it couldn't have been 2 or 3 people who were tweeting in a room that produced 6 million votes.
But do you think, that's your opinion I'm trying to find out from you. Do you see the present administration not doing enough that you feel there's a need to change?
This government is
your personal opinion this time
around. It's a clueless government. It is groping in the dark. It's a failed government. It's the worst government Nigeria has ever had in the history of this country. Not even under the Civil War did Nigeria record a government
the use of the word clueless.
As clueless as this.
The use of the word clueless wasn't just in this government as it is now, but we saw it really coming when Jonathan was there. They used all manners of words to describe Jonathan's administration. And one of these words they used, clueless, to an extent.
Jonathan's government was angelic when you want to compare it with this government.
But it didn't continue.
The fact speaks for itself. I will rail out the facts for you here. When Jonathan was the president, a bag of rice sold for 8,500 naira. Today, a bag of rice sells for 100,000. Meanwhile, I'm talking about this present government. I'm not even dealing with APC government that started from 2015. Now, when this present government took over, a bag of rice, Buhari left it at 35,000. Now it's 100,000. Buhari left a liter of fuel at about 200 naira or thereabout. Today, it sells for almost 1,000 naira. When Buhari left, $1 to naira was about 580. Today, it's exchanging for 1,600. I'm not done with that. Now, this government said they were removing fuel subsidy. They removed fuel subsidy, and the fuel is selling for about 1,000 naira per liter. And the money they said they have saved from it, they injected it into buying presidential jet for $150 million. They went and awarded contract for building construction of road from Lagos to Calabar Highway for $16 billion. Who does that? Construction of road in a country where 70% of the citizens are multidimensionally poor. And road is your priority from the savings of the fuel subsidy removal. That is the difference. That is the difference between this president and Peter Obi. Peter Obi, even though he said he was going to remove fuel subsidy, he would have been methodical in the approach.
Barrister, are you aware that the premise of the building, if it is not correct, obviously the conclusion or the ending part of the structure wouldn't be normal? What present administration is going through, some of those things you are reeling out, as probably considered to be bad. Not necessarily that the government decided to allow those things to occur the way you see them, but possibly because the way the government inherited Nigeria from the perceived failed government. So let me give you an instance.
I am not.
Let me give you an instance. When you talk about rice, you still remember a particular time where they built a pyramid of rice in this country, but at the end of the day, inside it was hollow. But meanwhile, from the outer view you watch, you will now see a complete pyramid. Meanwhile, inside there wasn't anything. That was in any situation.
It was still an APC government.
Well, if you are talking about either APC or whatever, I'm talking about this government. Yeah. So if this government is considered to have done poorly or is doing poorly, so to speak, it might have been as a result of where the government is coming from, because the foundation has ever been shaky. And so
what is the foundation that this government is building now?
Let's look at so many things that you could have imagined as a Nigerian. You were in Nigeria when Buhari was in government, just like the way I am now. And so we knew exactly how it was. And so anybody that will now come and take over in that particular perspective, you should expect that many things might not work in the best way you can. And then my own point of worry, the people who actually made it to be bad are the people who are right now forming the coalition.
See, I've told you that Peter Obi is not going to associate with angels to become president. You understand?
Yeah.
You need to.
You need to use the bad, good, and the ugly.
Yeah,
is that what you mean?
Yeah. The bad, the good, and the ugly have to congregate. You understand? That's the simplest truth. Now, you were talking about a foundation that was faulty before this government came on board. And I asked you a question. what are those foundations that this government is laying? You understand? That the previous government did not lay. Let me tell you, when Buhari, as shambolic, as lackluster as President Buhari's government was, he took some far-reaching decisions that couldn't materialize because of poor implementation. Buhari even tried to introduce policies like trader money, even though the implementation was shabby, but at least he tried to reach the poor. He tried to attend to the needs of the poor. Now, this government removed fuel, pushed it to 1,000, and tell me one palliative, apart from the occasional distribution of rice.
Barrister, that fear that
tell me the palliative measure that this government has put in place to ameliorate the harshness of removal of fuel subsidy.
Barrister, that fear you are buying Buhari that was sold either 900 or either 600, whatever that amount was per liter, it was as if it was so deceptive. No, it was so deceptive in the sense that, let me say,
or even less than.
Listen, we are Nigerians. Most times they were collecting the fuel on credit for Nigerians to use because the past administration was so afraid that the increment of this pump price might actually cause a lot of stampede in the system. And so the best way to do it was to borrow without you and I knowing. And so you were just going to the filling station, take fuel and that particular amount of money. And when this present government came and decided to say the government is removing fuel subsidy, and then the price now went up to 1,000 plus.
So if there is criminality,
criminality
in the subsidy regime, so the best way to solve it is to end it and visit whatever the criminality is, visit it on the poor people.
Not necessarily.
So if your
not
eye,
necessarily
if you think that your eye is looking at something that you don't want your eye to look at, instead of turning your eye away, you block away your eyes.
It's better you take a decisive action so that we go through hardship at a point and then we settle normal and then get going, than deceiving the people, probably going to where fuel is being refined. Then you collect the product on credit, and then Nigeria will pay back subsequently. That was exactly what was really happening in those days. And so you are a Nigerian driving to a filling station, you buy your fuel without really knowing what was really going on. But those who are in government, that was exactly what was happening.
You see, Topsy, there are so many things that I am not supposed to say on air. But Nigeria is at all-time low. All-time low. We've not gotten this bad in the history of this country. Just yesterday, I was reading that American government, Donald Trump invited 5 African leaders to come to the White House for talks, for business talks.
And Nigeria is not one of them.
And Nigeria is conspicuously missing a supposed biggest economy in Africa, the largest country, the most populous country in Africa is missing. Do you know the countries there? You see Mauritania, you see Guinea-Bissau, you see Gabon, Senegal, in a list where Nigeria is missing.
See,
look, we have never had it this bad.
That wouldn't be.
I remember a president
I remember
everything about him is shrouded
but
in
sir,
secrecy.
I remember when Barack Obama was the president of America. He was touring some African countries. He came closer to Nigeria, but he didn't come to Nigeria. He stopped at Ghana. Yeah. And from Ghana in Accra, he was there abusing the government of this country at that time.
So
it's not new. It's not new, but the fact that it all depends on the policy.
At the time.
It all depends on the...
I'm talking about visiting America. I'm not talking about American president visiting Nigeria.
In any situation, vice versa.
The president at the time had a one-on-one with Barack Obama.
Vice versa.
Jonathan visited Barack Obama in White House.
That was after that. That was after that, but I still remember very well that actually he visited most of these African countries as far as to coming to Ghana and never came to Nigeria. But he was in Ghana, in Accra precisely, and was like attacking this country.
Mr. Topsy, it does not embarrass you that Mauritania president, Guinea-Bissau president, Gabonese president is going to sit with Trump when Nigeria is missing?
The fact that they are there today doesn't really mean Nigeria will not be there tomorrow.
Let me tell you.
It doesn't mean...
You see, our president, before he just traveled to Brazil for BRICS, he was holidaying somewhere in St. Lucia at a time that Nigeria, people are dying everywhere, insecurity everywhere. And the other day he said he was visiting Benue, and he went there. The kids whose parents have been obliterated by these murderers, you came there, you asked them to line up the streets, waving Nigerian flag, welcoming you when you were supposedly coming to commiserate with them. And when you got there, you cocooned yourself in an air-conditioned environment and refused to go to the place where people were massacred. and no empathy whatsoever. And these are the people you supposedly flew all the way to Benue to go and commiserate.
Yes, this what we are really saying. You wouldn't have expected president to pay a visit to a state like the way he did in Benue, and then people will not be asked to receive him. How you interpret it is subject to the way you say it. That's the way it is. But of course,
whether he traveled to even 4 days after the massacre.
Listen,
4 days after the massacre.
Even if he is actually going to pay a visit to a dead man's house, you should expect those who are really mourning, who are grieving, will rise up to receive him. And so I don't see anything wrong for people to...
You may not see anything. But
the question here is... The question here is...
in Nigeria today, Topsy, that people are not paying attention to.
My concern is about the people who are in that room that call themselves members of that coalition. So take a critical look and look at these people that are there. These are people who use chauvinism, ethnic chauvinism, religion, ethnicity, and whatever, regionality to divide Nigeria. They were in government. They were in government in their own time. And because they are no longer in power, just 2 years, they are now coming up with some kind of, something not too much to believe for Nigerians, hosting something that's not correct, so that at the end of the day, they promise us these utopia promises for us to believe in them. Then we queue up in 2027 and vote them, and then they'll come back and start blaming the present administration, just like the way APC is blaming PDP for the past 12 years.
Tinubu administration has to go. You understand? So that is the primary thing, because we have never really gotten it this bad. So when the Tinubu, it has to go. And like I told you, in making efforts for Tinubu administration to leave, there has to be a collaborative effort. I'm talking from the perspective of the Labour Party. There has to be a collaborative effort. Our principal is not going to campaign to lead Nigeria alone. He is going to campaign with other Nigerians. And like you said, the good, the bad, the ugly. So everyone has to put hands together to ensure that this government goes. Because if one more year of this government, one more day of this government after May 29, 2027, I don't know where we are going to get ourselves. It's scary. Let me tell you, I've lived in this country since 1999. And, there are so many things happening that people don't even pay attention to. Are you aware that Nigeria cannot host any international conference, tournament? You were here when they held All African Games. In short, Nigeria had, I'm talking about recent history, from 1999 to now. In 1995, we hosted World Cup, Junior World Cup. We hosted Chogom.
What did that in hunger?
We hosted All African Games.
We did all this in hunger.
Now, I'm telling you that people no longer visit Nigeria. This is a country, this is a pariah nation now.
When people are not visiting...
This is an isolated nation. The only international conference that holds in Nigeria today is ECOWAS. Because of what? Because ECOWAS Secretariat is in Nigeria.
Fine, listen.
And anytime ECOWAS heads of states are visiting Nigeria, Nigerian soldiers are lined up.
I should have expected you to look at...
Nigerian soldiers are lined up all the way from the city gates to the airport.
Look at Nigerian insecurity.
So that to avert the embarrassment of kidnapping visiting heads of states.
Yeah, look at issue of insecurity in this country. There are so many things that are really happening. That, of course, anybody who intends to come to Nigeria begins to think differently before he or she arrives. And that's the more reason why probably you are saying international games are not being held in Nigeria.
So,
not necessarily like that.
It is to root out the insecurity.
The insecurity didn't even start in this government.
And so the government...
It didn't start in this government.
So the government should allow it to first start.
Jonathan passed through similar kind of hot seat like the way this administration is.
And so the governments are elected to solve a problem. They are not elected to complain, hey, it did not start under me. So why are you there? If you can't solve it, then you get out of the place.
Definitely. Anybody that comes to power is expected to solve any problem.
Yeah.
But again, if you look at what's actually happening, insecurity takes the major chunk of Nigeria economy. And as much as the person who is actually carrying out these insecurity activities is not known, the battle will be so difficult for you to win. That's exactly what's happening.
Why are they not known?
Because he doesn't wear uniform, does he?
So where is
he comes in the night and attacks and runs away?
There are people who are in DSS collecting our common patrimony. They are being paid with our resources. And they are supposed to gather local intelligence. So where is intelligence they are gathering? Where is intelligence?
Do you mean
that they are not known?
Do you mean there hasn't been any significant improvement in terms of fighting insecurity in this country?
Where
Look
is
at
the
in the time
improvement?
past, most parts in this country, particularly the Middle Belt and the northern part of Nigeria, besides just the northeast, I'm talking about the northwest. It was so bad to that point that you cannot even travel when it is 6 o'clock. That was how it used to be, as bad it was. But today is not like that. And so it's not going to be rocket science for us to solve the problem immediately. That's the way I see it. But you are looking at it. You are looking at it. You are looking at this government as if
insecurity in Nigeria is wearing new clothes at every point in time. You know, it moves from terrorism to banditry to kidnapping to depending on where it is happening.
Yeah.
How can you tell me it's improving when they, as I'm talking to you, they are killing people in Plateau now. You understand?
Yes.
They are killing people in Benue. They are killing people in Niger. They are killing people in Enugu. And you're telling me it's improving. How is it improving?
You mean it didn't happen in the time past before this government?
It has been happening, but this government came on board and said they were going to solve it. And they didn't solve it.
For instance, now...
So they have to leave for us to try another hand.
If
you're not solving it, so why are we keeping you there?
For instance, now, let's assume that Peter Obi gets into this seat. Do you think that what we are going through... Don't forget, he's even saying that if he's given the opportunity to lead Nigeria in 2027, he stays there just for 4 years and then he leaves.
Yes.
Do you think some of those things we are talking about here, looking at past governments, including the ruling party as it is now, or the ruling government, so to speak, as it is now, do you think some of these issues that are considered to be like a challenge to Nigeria will eventually go?
See, thank you for that question. You know, yesterday, Peter Obi was on a TV platform, and he said this. He said he's not expecting that he will solve all the Nigeria problems in 4 years. But the most important thing is that if you set out to go to Kaduna, you'll be on the Kaduna road and not face Lagos road. Right now, Nigeria is saying that they are going to Kaduna, and we are on our way to Badagry. That is the problem. So what he needs to do when he comes is that he will use the 4 years to reset Nigeria so that we'll be on the road to Kaduna if we say we are going headed towards Kaduna Road. That is what he needs to do. Government is a continuum.
You are a Nigerian.
He's not expected to finish all Nigeria's problems in 4 years.
You are a Nigerian.
It's a continuum.
You are a Nigerian like the way I am. Some of these things you mentioned that are possibly considered to be very bad being done by this government, these issues that are being mentioned today existed probably before we could even finish secondary school. But they're still there. So somebody comes and tells me today that this government is doing, but therefore he wants to take power from this government and therefore he will do differently. It will not work.
So in other words, you're saying that we should allow the government that has failed to continue failing because the ones before the government failed.
To what extent has it failed?
So we will keep digging holes?
No, the failure has been there for a very long while, not today. So if you say, because I believe in if any other person comes on board.
You see, what you're saying is what they call the Stockholm Syndrome. When you are being oppressed and you are singing praises for your oppressor.
Not praises. I said look at the history. Look at the history of Nigeria.
You have been pounded into submission to the extent
look at the history of Nigeria.
You have
look at the history.
And you now want your oppressor to continue oppressing you.
This government is just about 2 years. Pipe bomb water, what do you call it? What do you call it? The pipe bomb water, which we're supposed to get in our homes. And till today, anybody that comes to power, he gets up and tells you, or he campaigns and said he wants you to elect him because he's going to make water available in your home, or either electricity, or tiling your roads, or whatever, building schools, or either providing free money to students who are in university or secondary school. All those issues are there all the time when they get up to make campaign or to say anything to whoever they want to talk about. Now, the question here is, I want you to know that some of these things have been like that over time to where we are today. And so I believe that anybody that wants to come and say anything might not get it right. So they're only using this particular... They're also using some of these issues. Just at the end of the day, they get the power from them and they become so centered to themselves.
But you don't have the power of clairvoyance to know whether... Look, let me tell you, we will keep trying until we get it. You cannot say because the past people who made promises faltered, they refused to deliver on their promises, then you will not try another person. You will keep trying people as they are coming until you get it right. And you know one thing, as you're trying people, you will be looking at people's past records. Because that is what matters, whether you should even entrust someone with public office. the past offices people held, how did they hold it? So all the people who are running around now trying to govern Nigeria, what you should be asking yourself is, what did you do in your previous office? And that is where Peter Obi stands out. And since he left power in 2014 in Anambra State, the two governors who came after him have been very hostile to him. And nobody, all the claims Peter Obi keeps dishing out, none of these governors, including the present governor, nobody has ever brought out any one record to contradict what Peter Obi says. All the things he said he did in Anambra, no single human being has come out, even in as much as they don't want him. Toludo himself has consistently, the present governor, maintained he doesn't want him to be president. But he has never contradicted, not even in one occasion, has he contradicted the entire claims of Peter Obi. Not one claim has he ever contradicted. So you look at people's past antecedents and know if you can trust them going forward. That the people who were promising us Eldorado in the past failed does not mean that we shouldn't listen to some other persons who are coming on board.
I would have expected a different approach, not necessarily using all ideas to solve some problems that we are living with them as it is now.
What approach would you advise?
Because I have not seen anything tangible. The minister of the FCT, Barrister Nyesom Wike, said the people who are forming this coalition are just doing it for their stomach infrastructure.
The man who is saying that just...
And it is true.
The bubble just...
No, listen,
the man who is saying
let me give you the reason as to why I seem to believe what he said. If you look at the characters that are in that coalition, that ADC, take a look of them individually. You will agree with me to a very large extent that these are people who had been in government for some other time, failed their people at various places they governed, and now they are back 2 years out of office. They are attacking this government, bringing out issues that they failed to do when they were in government, and they're saying that the present government is not doing some of those issues.
You see,
I feel a little bit.
You keep dragging me back to something.
No, I
have talked about this.
Until we're able to get it clearly correct.
No, you keep dragging me back there, and I don't speak for them.
I'm speaking to you as a Nigerian. What I want
I don't speak for PDP.
Address as a Nigerian.
I don't speak for ADC.
I believe you are a politician, as much as you are a spokesperson.
I have told you that the Labour Party, our presidential candidate in the last election, who is the leader of this party, is participating in this coalition because he understands that he needs to build bridges across board to be Nigeria's president. He cannot be Nigeria's president, campaign for himself alone, and win the election. He needs both the good, the bad, and the ugly to be Nigeria's president. Everybody has to come on board. So that you see him in a room with people you think had held public office in the past and they did not do well, there are still people there who had held public office in the past who did well. So it's not a blanket thing. So he needs everybody, all hands have to be on deck to remove this government. This government has failed. Like I told you, it's unprecedented in the history of Nigeria. No government has ever failed the way this government has failed. And they are still failing going forward. Just look at the
in the history of this. You mean the history of Nigeria?
Mention one. Even the Abacha that everybody loves to annihilate in terms of maybe human rights records. Today, Nigeria has the worst human rights records in Africa. Under a civilian regime. Every institution of government today is under state capture. The man you just mentioned, his name, who is the FCT minister, is just being alleged to have awarded more than 4,000 hectares of land to 2 children. And you know what the answer he provided? He said his children are qualified, they are qualified Nigerians, legitimately qualified to own properties. What about conflicts of interest? This is abuse of public office.
So with this is enough for us to think of changing the government?
Mr. Gimba, I think, you see...
I'm just trying to, with this...
I've told you that a bag of rice today sells for 100... Let me tell you, if you had 600,000 naira in 2023 before this government came on board, what you had then was $1,000. Because when Buhari left, a dollar was 600. to Naira. Now, what you had then was $1,000. If you had 600,000 then. Now, today, if you have 600,000 Naira today, what you have is $375. That is how bad it is. I'm breaking this in clear terms for you. Now, someone who earns 600,000 Naira today might just be a full director in a ministry that earns 600,000. In 2023, that person was earning big. Today, that 600,000 Naira is a paltry sum of $375. So the person can never pay any bill abroad. You can't spend money abroad. If you have a child who is living abroad, you can't pay the school fee. You can't do anything. And that's why civil servants keep stealing money everywhere. Because the salary is not enough to pay their bills.
Now, let me ask you this question. It's your Principal Peter Obi. As much as he wants to be in the race by seeing himself on the ballot paper 2027, and the likes of Atiku Abubakar, who had been there for a long time and is still there, would he want for him to get the ticket of being a president, or he would like to be getting a ticket to be a vice president to whoever that will eventually become the candidate?
Well, I don't know. I'm not.
You are a spokesperson, for instance.
No, yeah, I'm not a spokesperson.
Do you see
for
him?
The coalition. There's a coalition that has formed, that have morphed into a political party now called ADC. I am not a spokesperson for that. And meanwhile, when we get to the bridge, I believe it will be crossed. We are not, like Peter Obi said yesterday on an interview, that nobody is talking about who will be presidential candidate, who will be vice now. That they are trying to get the structure right so that they can remove this inept government. That is where they are now. Nobody is talking about who will be the flag bearer, who will be this, who will be that.
Yes.
They have not gotten to that stage now. What they are doing now is to get this structure right so that they can chase out this government. Because this government needs to chase out.
By implication, now he is actually dumping Labour Party as a platform.
Well, he has
because already
if
he visits the coalition is on the platform that's called ADC, this African Democratic Congress. So if he finds himself there like the way he is about to, or he is already, does it seem to suggest that he's actually leaving the Labour Party?
Yeah, you know, the word he used before was dumping, and that is not the situation. You see, on the 25th of May, Labour Party issued a statement saying that they gave approval to Peter Obi to participate in that coalition talks. You understand? So the word dumping does not exist at all.
All right.
You understand? Dumping is suggestive of someone.
Why I said so?
I'm coming to answer
why I say so? Because there is a conflict of interest. There is a particular faction within that same Labour Party that has actually, suspended Peter Obi.
That faction does not exist. Let us
to
go
most
there
people
because you are dragging us back.
No,
but I can go there.
It's published.
Okay, I can go there.
It's published.
But as much as it's published, I'm sure you saw the rejoinder, another publication that asks Nigerians to ignore those people.
Yes, of course, yes.
Because they are non-existent people as far as the party is concerned. You see, on the 4th of April, the Supreme Court of Nigeria, the highest court in the land, gave judgment stating that the people I don't even want to mention their names because mentioning their names is validating what they are trying to do. The Supreme Court of Nigeria gave a valid judgment, a landmark judgment saying that those characters are no longer the leaders of Labour Party because their tenures had long expired. That was unambiguous. That was a clear, lucid judgment of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. So anybody who keeps referring to them as faction, factional leaders of Labour Party, you are committing contempt of the court. Because there is a clear judgment of the Supreme Court. So it's contemptuous for anybody to refer to them as faction.
How can you say contempt to the court when the person occupies the Labour Party's house?
No.
It's true.
See, Labour Party's house is as good as what the party calls their headquarters. We have a Labour Party headquarters today.
Where that factional leader occupies.
Labour Party was when Enadi Usman occupied, the national chairman occupied. We have our headquarters office in Abuja here. Now, Labour Party's office is not cast in stone. There is no way it is written in Labour Party constitution that the office must be cited here or cited there.
But where you were before, who occupies it?
Where we were before? Who is occupying it now? Yeah, we decided to move.
Who is occupying it now?
We decided to move. Where we were before? Who occupies it? Where we were before? Who occupies it?
Who is occupying it now?
Yeah, we've moved. We decided to move
before the national TV, and people are watching all over the country. If the person you so-called that is just doing something differently occupies the office and he's given police to back him up, when then do you describe him?
I'm telling you that there is criminality going on in Nigeria. There's impunity everywhere. That somebody that Supreme Court of Nigeria, the highest court in Nigeria, said is not the party chairman, and the party in government sent police officers to go and guard the person. Then you want us to go with bare hands, bare knuckles,
no, I'm
not
to
saying,
go and
start fighting.
Nobody is saying that you should go and fight them.
So I'm telling you that these are the
what
reasons.
does that actually portend?
I've told you that Nigeria has the worst human rights records in Africa today. These are part of it. They poo-pooed on the judgment of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. This government. They literally have killed every institution.
So as a lawyer,
they've killed the media, they've killed the judiciary, they've killed the legislature.
The question is, if Supreme Court is able to pass judgment,
civil society is obliterated.
No, but again, if Supreme Court has been able to pass judgment on this particular matter, and the person in question is still parading himself as a leader to a particular party, as a lawyer, believing that the judgment has been passed already and is still, when then will you describe that kind of action? That's
impunity now. It's impunity.
What would the courts do in this case?
No, you see, that's the problem. Some of us are agitating that the courts should be allowed to enforce their judgment. There should be an enforcement arm of courts. You understand? To the extent that if, my Lord Justices who gave this judgment, they are weeping because they don't have voice for them to grant interviews, to say one or two things. So, but they feel so bad that there's a judgment given and it's not being implemented. But if the judiciary was allowed to have their own judicial police, when they give judgments, some of us have been agitating.
But most cases,
when they give judgments, they should be able to deploy the judicial police for the enforcement of the judgments that they have given.
We have seen cases passed or judged by or ruled by some courts, and then some of these cases will be obeyed. Are these cases different with the other ones?
So that is selective justice. It's worse than injustice. Selective justice is worse than injustice. The brother to selective justice is pretended justice. It's the worst form of injustice. So if they cherry pick the judgments that they will obey and the ones that they will not obey, that is what we are talking about. It's selective justice, and this government this government regals in impunity. It regals in impunity. There is no way. I've not seen anywhere that this government got it.
So right. where does Peter Obi stand in this case now?
Peter Obi is a member of the Labour Party, as I speak to you today, who is participating in the coalition because he feels that there is a need for collaborative efforts to rescue Nigeria from this dungeon. That is where he stands today.
No, if he succeeds at the end of the day with the factionality we have within the party,
there is no faction in Labour Party.
No.
There is no faction in Labour Party. The national chairman of Labour Party is Senator Esther Nenadi Usman.
My fear here is if Nigerians decide to support him, for instance, and at the end of the day he wins, somebody goes to court and then brings up a case like this that initially he was suspended, so to speak, and he continued until he was able to win.
There will always be
at the end of the day, what will he become when that issue should come up going forward?
There will always be faction anywhere. Well, we don't pay attention to people who are jesters. They are entertaining themselves. If I wake up today, Gimba, Mr. Topsy, on this TV station, and I say I am the factional president of Nigeria, then you say, what if President Tinubu contests election and win? I will start claiming. Look, you can't claim what you are not. I'm not a factional president, and you can't be describing me as factional president just because I pronounce myself as factional president of Nigeria. That is treasonable. And so I'm telling you that if somebody keeps entertaining himself, and Peter, if you are saying in an unlikely event that he contests under Labour, so if the person who is entertaining himself keeps entertaining himself, and you think that court, I've told you that they were entertaining themselves until they went to court, and court cannot listen to such entertainment. Because court is not a nightclub. So now, what is the where is the office where Nenadi uses as caretaker chairman? Our office is in Lifecam.
Lifecam.
The national headquarters of Labour Party.
Okay. So in a hall, Barrister Ken, we are still waiting at the end of the day, by the time the issue relating to coalition are resolved, if it turns out to be your principal, will you like him at that point of view?
If our principal,
now, because you said he's just there watching, and then studies how formation is.
No, he has signified his
Interest.
intention, his interest. That is it for now.
Yes.
You understand? So you are asking what happens when he is now pronounced the candidate of the new party?
Yes, of the party.
Of course, that is our expectation. We sent him there to be that for us.
So will you subscribe to him saying, because most Nigerians are not so much interested or believing in him, for instance. I remember one presidential candidate of Action Democratic Party, ADP, Engineer Yagbaji, Sani said they should not believe him. That is not merely saying it so that he will win the election.
For saying he will
For saying it so that at the end of the day, by the time he gets there, he will not leave. Probably he won't stay more than 8 years.
Well, like I said, when people make promises, the only way you can believe them or decide not to believe them is to look at their past records. In law, there is something they call character evidence. There is something they call similar facts evidence in law. Now, you need to look at Peter Obi's character as a human being. What are his past antecedents to know if you will believe him? The things he said he was going to do in the past, how did he end up doing them? So if people don't just wake up and say, I will do one term, and you decide, you sit down in your house and say, no, I will not believe, or I will believe. No, you need to study, take a look at their past. It helps you to understand the present, to understand the future.
But are you aware that the way he was received in 2023 is not the same, because most people have lost that, that anxiety of liking him like the way they liked him in 2023.
Are you sure you're in Nigeria?
I am in Nigeria.
You see, because you have been speaking all along we are here, you've been speaking like you're living in
I'm in Nigeria.
Because I am telling you that...
Let me tell you.
The enthusiasm is even growing more.
I have not even finished. Because most people who succeeded to become lawmakers, either at the national or state levels, they have left the party label, joining themselves with some other political party, particularly APC. So you can imagine that the aura around them is dying out gradually.
Is that the reason why you're saying that?
So I want to find out whether or not whether that particular...
No. You see, our principal keeps saying something. There is something that he has always maintained. Wherever he goes and these issues come up, he keeps saying that this time around, that we are going to make sure that whoever is contesting under our platform are people who are tested and trusted. You know, the last election, you were here and you saw how he entered the Labour Party. He entered the Labour Party so hurriedly, and there was no time, adequate time for preparations of other candidates. But it was his movement into Labour Party that now dragged all manner of people who were unprepared for leadership. They all joined the ship. So, but this time, you can see that we have started this early enough. So whoever is going to contest under any platform that is coming on board, the people have to be verified so that you don't come and use the party platform as just a vehicle to get to your destination, then you abandon it and go to wherever.
But they are doing it, don't they?
Yeah, there are people who have left the party. I can agree with you.
So why will you describe that kind of action?
Yeah, these are, like I told you, these are people who don't believe, they never believed in the philosophy. They just felt that this is a vehicle, because they saw him as a vehicle that was moving. And they jumped into it. So it's a credit to him that people saw that what he was saying was resonating with the life.
But of course,
but like I said, you need to correct the impression you gave before that.
In politics, number matters.
And we have the numbers.
No, what I'm saying, number matters. If anybody had earlier been with you and now is not, it then means you are depleting gradually.
Although the people who we are, when we contested the election the last time, no political leader was with us. The people who were with us then, and who are still with us now, we've gained more numbers. You know why we've gained more numbers? This government had thrown people into more poverty. So the more they throw people into more poverty, the more we gain more numbers. So the people, when we contested the election in 2023, We did not have any political leader, and we got to where we got to. So now we are gaining more people. Forget about the political leader, the political office holders who are jumping ship. These are not the people we are talking about.
But they are moving with their followers.
No, there is no follower that is moving. Look, you can't be hungry today and you said you are moving to APC. APC is not gaining people, the people. They are gaining selfish politicians. These are not the people.
You are looking at that as if you are in the church.
No. You were here in the 2023
You are looking at
election.
this. You are listening to Nigerian politics.
No, but you looked at the numbers in 2023. You saw how the votes were cast. And you saw...
Things don't work the way you see them. I must confess that things don't work the way you see them.
Let me tell you.
Things are not that much. You look at it. I have earlier told you that, you see, politics in Nigeria obeys no moral or no moral principle in it.
So what are you saying?
If you can quote and join and then you arrive there, go ahead and do it. So if people are depleted...
So are you saying that
that's the principle, not just in Nigeria. Politically, that's how the structure is.
And join, people who say, snatch it, grab it, run with it. Is that what
that's the way? No, I'm talking...
Is that what you're... Is that
because
what
it don't have any set of rules, set of morals to operate. The way you play, so you get it.
And we need people. That's why Labour Party is coming with a different. We need people like you to reform it. People like you who have voice. Because you have a voice that reaches millions of Nigerians. So you have the opportunity to tell people that, look, it shouldn't be about grab it, snatch it, run with it. It should be about being civil. Look, election is a civil duty. It's a civic duty for people to go and cast their votes and go home. It's not a situation of snatching it and running. It's a situation where people should be allowed to vote for who they want to lead them.
Okay.
As far as Nigeria has not gotten to the level where people are allowed to vote for who they want to lead them, there is no democracy in place. What we have is a civilian regime.
Ken, thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
Let me feel you.
I
appreciate you.
You have dragged me this night.
Thank you, Mr. Ken.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, well, that's how far we can go on Big Talk. We shall come your way again tomorrow. See you and bye-bye. My name is Topsy Gimba.